There's one thing I'm proud of admitting is that I love harem anime, even the trashy ones. But what I also love is trashy isekai anime. Now, throughout my years as a weeb, I've come across a lot of isekai animes. The generic as hell ones, cliche ones that follow all the tropes and the like. And for some reason, I quite find them to be tolerable. At the end of the day, if I had enjoyed my time with it, or at least I had fun with it, then it's okay, right? That is until today. My isekai life, I gained a second character class and became the strongest sage in the world. Oh boy, there it is. This is an anime of which I'm actually very sad to of what it came to be. I feel frustrated as I watch this entire show, and that says a lot coming from someone who watches cliche anime on a daily basis. Yeah, I just wanted to share with you on how my third eye came to open after watching this show and seeing the reality of why, I guess I finally understand why some people don't like certain anime, most specifically the harem ones or the isekai ones for that matter. It depends, I guess. But essentially, why people dislike it. To start us off, I wanted to share with you what I really love about this series, and that is the opening theme song. And that's about it. So yeah. Now let's get into the meat of this. Of course, I think most probably the reason why people really dislike a lot of these animes are such as harems, isekais and the like. It depends. Again, it depends on the show. Is that level of genericness, right? The level of being formulaic, and I feel that I finally sort of see now why. Right? I mean, I watched shows that according to people, or at least that's how I feel. According to people, they know it's generic as heck, but I still watch it for whatever reason because again, it's if you have fun watching the anime, go for it, right? Just do whatever you want, do as you please. Boy, oh boy, this is a this is really something for me, right? Now, let's take a look at the plot of it first. So in the first few episodes, right, the flow wasn't too bad. It was just your regular power fantasy isekai journey, right? Except we don't really get to know the full detail, or we didn't get to start at the beginning, rather, of how the protagonist reincarnated into this world. The protagonist's name is Yuji. Now, of course, he has to be he's Japanese, of course, and he has black hair, and his face is like, well, you know how it goes. Sure, it was generic as it is, and it's something that of course, you would expect this to happen, right? Especially in a show like this, with a title like this. And side note, really, the title, again, it's as generic as it can be, yet I still fell into this fly trap. Along the final episodes, or nearing the final episodes of this series, rather, I sort of, saw it, right? A quite formulaic, generic, easily predictable battle plot style, right? Where it was actually so boring to watch that I actually skipped it. Yes, I skipped it. What makes it boring is that, at least in some of the animes that in the animes that I watched, rather, yeah, the fight scenes were explosive. They were great, really. They're eye catching, but for this one, it just seems so bland, honestly. Right? Am I the only one who thinks this? Probably not. But yeah, this makes me really think back about the rest of the episodes, right? So this is the type of story where the protagonist travels around in different places, different parts, or different settings of the world he is thrown into the fantasy world. Now, he meets a lot of different people, and at the end, or at the climactic event, all the characters that the protagonist has met so far is finally involved in the final battle. They face up against a giant threat, and I'm just gonna spoil it right here because you already know what's gonna happen anyway. Of course, they all win. Everyone is happy. They party along. They didn't even knew that the protagonist was was also a part of their success this whole time. I honestly had more fun watching those little arcs, so I'll just call them arcs for the lack of a better term, than watching the climactic battle itself, right? Because at least the arcs, they had a problem, they had a solution to which I can see. I see it now. I see it now why it's frustrating to always have a OP main protagonist in the sense, right? I'm gonna get back to that later. I want to stress on that. OP main protagonist in the sense where he barely lifts a finger. The conclusion, though, or at least in the final episode, episode 12, it ended pretty solidly, I guess, in a completed sense. This anime had a start to finish, and it did it well. But of course, this is as an isekai series, protagonist journey is not yet over because there's still villains lurking about. And speaking of villains, the antagonists of this story is just no. So from what I understand, the story is from the stories that it's a type of antagonist where they are a group or cult, so to speak, and their goal is, of course, world salvation. Or if you're familiar already with this type of thing, it's extinction or destruction of the human race or something along those lines. Anyway, it's bad, right? At the end of the day, whatever, I don't want to say that whatever the means justify the end type of deal or end justify the means. If it's bad, if there are a lot of losses at the end of the day, then I guess it's bad. It's seen as bad, I suppose. That's how it goes. Again, it really depends on how you look at it and on what variables are put into the equation. But clearly, what the story is going for is that these guys, the cultists at least, or the group, the evil members, are evil. It's as generic as it can be, and the villain or the final boss, so to speak, at the end of the season, at episode 12, was just it was dumb, really. I mean, that guy was only there for 2 episodes technically, or rather, at the end of season at the end of episode 11 to episode 12, half of episode 12, so pretty short time. Why bother put him there other than to flex the powers of the main protagonist? And that's another thing, right? How straight off the bat, we're going to into this now, how straight off the bat this protagonist Yuji is an OP motherfricker, right? Now, I know, yes, there are a lot of anime protagonists there, whether it be isekai, harem, supernatural, school, slice of life, so to speak, I don't know, who are OP. Great, perfect in every way, and that's just how it is. But what really frustrates me about this protagonist is his, not only because of his OP powers, right, but it's also because of his character himself, I guess, because this protagonist, he seems like a guy who's just so, lost or unmotivated. Sorry, I'm really having a hard time trying to describe how I'm feeling about this guy, because it's not supposed to be hard. Why is it hard? For whatever reason, I just don't like this protagonist, honestly, right? I don't know, maybe it's because of his bland deadpan expression. And looking back, yes, that's definitely because of his bland deadpan expression. It's boring, right? And his powers as well, his abilities, his skills are as broken as my brain trying to comprehend the logic behind it. Now, the protagonist and his abilities follow an MMORPG skill-based format of his abilities, right? A game setting, if you will, right? And he gets his OP ability, and by OP ability I mean all the abilities, I guess, of that world, and it's leveled up to the max. I don't know if it has something to do with his background as a programmer before he was reincarnated as the strongest sage in the world, so to speak. But that's not important. What I'm pissed off, right, is the cost. Now, casting skills requires mana, fam. If you play games, at least you know that, right? Or at least have an idea, rather. If you do something, it consumes energy. In this case, it's mana, right? Now, when his mana reaches 0, right, usually you would think that he'd either be really tired, fatigued, he would even suffer a lot, or really, painful sensation in his body or something, some harmful effect, right? But instead, when he casts a skill that consumes a lot of mana, it reaches 0, it still gets consumed, and guess what? It goes into the negative numbers. I don't like this. I really don't. I mean, the skill is still being casted even though the MP is already way down. I'm honestly at loss for words, and I'm further lost because of the protagonist's companions. Now, the MC, despite being the strongest sage in the world, um, as said by the title, he is actually a tamer, but he still does cast magic. But he goes by tamer around these parts. I'm sorry, this protagonist is such a mystery to me, fam. Okay, so the protagonist is a tamer, and he has, of course, his summoned units, for lack of a better term, his companions, which are a bunch of slimes and a wolf. I really have to apologize for what I'm about to say, right? Now, I just have to say it honestly. The wolf's voice, or Proud Wolf as is he's called in the anime, the voice, I guess, or speech, mannerism, and the like, I guess, is really annoying as frick, and I just hate it. I'm sorry. I just hate it. Am I crazy for hating this? Right? The slimes as well. I just find them to be so annoying. I mean, sure they look cute, but the more I look at them, the more I see them in the show, I just I feel detached. And a part of why of what I also dislike about this anime is, well, the animation. Right now, okay, I wanna be clear. Right, the anime is alright in itself, but there's this one scene in one of the episodes where the frames were just used again and again, and it was weird to look at, honestly, right? And I think that's not the only instance. This also happens when the protagonist, when Yuji casts his skills. He does the same array of motion every single time. It's just it's wild. I don't like that. And I get it, right? I understand how difficult it is to animate something, how difficult animation can be, and these animators are just doing the job. Now, going back to that scene, right, where it was just the frames were similar frames were being used again. That scene had the wolf character in it, the wolf companion, the Proud Wolf, and I'm so sorry to say this. It actually became a nightmare for me. I'm sorry. I think a lot of cliche tropes really tick when it comes to this series or to this show. OP protagonist, black hair, summoner, or OP class of really, companions. No harem yet. That's one thing that I can really get by, but as a story, it's as formulaic as it can be, so to speak, for lack of a better term. That is the best term, I guess. I don't know. I'm sorry, but you know what? If I'm starting to really see the crappiness of a show, to really understand, I guess. Okay, I think this is why some people really dislike it. Then you know what? I think I am growing up for the better, which is, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. Well, I'm just looking at my anime list, and it seems I really am not crazy. I don't know yet, but the score of it as of this recording of this video, right, is 6.31. But hey, fam, at the end of the day, if you like the anime that you're watching, no matter how trashy, cliche, generic, formulaic, simple it is, if it's good to you, then go for it. Take it for a spin. Enjoy it to the fullest, right? Because if it has an anime, then there's surely people who would come to enjoy it, and people who look forward to watching that show being adapted. But I'm sorry, I honestly, I just have to say that I really didn't like this one, right? That's just my opinion. And with that being said, take care, family.